Welcome to another episode of the Find Your Voice podcast. Well, if you don't know me yet, my name is Freya Casey. I'm actually a professional singer and vocal coach from Germany, but I'm very, very passionate about mindset and just creating the life that I dream of, because I think life is precious. We all are given one life, and basically every day that passes can never be relived. Here's one thing that I've been recently thinking about. We have a lot of memories, and we always think back about things, maybe that we loved or we didn't love. But I like thinking back and remembering times, just in the past. So, of course, I love remembering my time in Texas when I was 7 years in Texas, not 7 years Tibet, like the movie, but 7 years in the US, then coming back to Germany. I was married to an American for 12 years, a Texan, which is the reason why I was there for that long. And fond memories. I went to college there. I went to Southern Methodist University. I studied voice there. I studied opera there. I had some lead roles, which was so awesome. I had some great friends there. And yes, I do want to go back to the States and live there again and go to Texas and go to the Dallas-Fort Worth area where I lived before. But I also know that nothing will ever be the same. So we can never relive another moment. And I feel like this is an important thing to remember, because a lot of times we always feel like, oh, that is something I remember and it was so awesome. Let me do that again. And you know what? The truth is, when you do it again, probably it will not be exactly the same, because you are not exactly the same. You're not even the same today as you were tomorrow, because you have already experienced everything that was after the moment that you experienced yesterday. From yesterday to today, you experienced more life. You are in a different place in your life already. It might be even less than 24 hours, but even an hour ago, I'm essentially the same person, but I am different in another sense because I have already had more experiences which do shape me. Now, some may shape me a lot, some may not shape me a lot, but they are all part of the entire life's experience. This is just my own experience. I love to think back and even just having another baby. That is something, after I had my first daughter, it was just the most amazing thing. And I knew I wanted to experience that again. And you know what? The second time around, it was totally not the same. It was awesome. And it was everything that I dreamed of. But it was definitely different. It was not the same because, of course, it was different children too. This time I didn't have one baby. I had twins. And it was, different children. And I was different. It's like 9.5 years later. That's a lot of time to pass and a lot of experience. And then my oldest daughter, she was there with me. I wasn't by myself. She was with me. And the experience was different. Even birth, giving birth was so different. I had all my 3 children at home, and it was peaceful and everything worked out perfectly, but it was so different. It was never the same experience. And even when we think, like anything we would love to experience again, we never will. But here's the cool thing. In our memory, we can experience it over and over again. On the one hand, it's a good thing because you can just dive into that memory and live that joy again because you remember it. And for your brain, we talked about this before, it's almost like there's no difference whether it's real or it's a memory or it's just an imagination. A lot of it is the same to your brain. But then at the same time, I love experiencing that joy again. But at the same time, I have to remind myself, even if I tried to recreate exactly the same situation, it would just not be the same situation. Even if I go back to Texas, it's totally not going to be the same. It's absolutely not going to be the same because I now have 3 children. I do not have a partner with me. I am not in college anymore. And even all my friends that I have there now, they're not in the same situation anymore. They all have families now. They work and they're busy. And so I realize I have to remind myself, it's an entirely different situation. I am familiar with a lot of things there, but a lot of things have also changed. And even if nothing had changed, I have changed because this is how many years now? 2005, 19 years. And by the time we go, it's going to be 20 years. So 20 years later in my life, I have lived so much life. I've had so many experiences that there's no way I could even experience everything the same, even if it were exactly the same. If I were to travel back in time and visit it exactly how it was, if I'm traveling as me now, who I am, then it would not be the same experience because I am an entirely different person. I would probably feel differently, experience things differently, have different views, have different sensations because, of course, I'm a lot older. 20 years older, whether you're 20 or 40. In this case, it was more like 30 or 50. It's very relevant. You're going to feel different. Probably also, I don't feel like, I've had children later in life, and a lot of people always feel like if you are an older parent, you don't have as much energy. I actually feel the opposite in my life. I feel like I have more energy nowadays than I had 20 years ago in a different way, maybe. Maybe I have more intentional energy, that I'm not just doing whatever, although I am a very creative type, which means I'm interested in a lot of different things, and potentially I would just take on a lot of projects because I just enjoy it and because it's like, ooh, yay. And if you've been listening to this podcast for any length of time, you know that I love to go for projects that might be hard for, it might seem very daunting to some, but I love the challenge and I love to take on the challenge and then find out on the way what can or can I not do. Okay, so I did want to give you another update about this move to Texas. So this has been planned for the past, basically since the beginning of the year. This is when I decided I want to go back to Texas with my kids. And it's really funny how God, the universe, something that is definitely guiding something here, how this all works. I feel like and I'm going to make another episode about manifesting. I feel like when I dream of something and I want something and I put it on my wish list, the 50 things that I want, or one thing I want even, it's always like there's this lag. You want something and you, of course, can't have it instantly most of the time. If it's something big, having a new house or having another baby or moving overseas, it's not anything that's going to happen overnight. There's a lot of things that you have to prepare. You have to just get ready and do before you can actually do it. And I've had so many, like I talked about this in the last episode, so many things on my vision board that have by now totally come true. But some things like I want to go to Texas, but I also want to have another baby. And I also want to have a life partner, which, I also want to grow my business and be very successful. So doing all the things at the same time, it's really hard. Let me tell you one thing. So I decided to go back to Texas beginning of this year. It's now October. And before that, this house that we live in right now, I've been wanting something else because it's not too small per se, but the way the layout is for all the bedrooms is extremely unpractical because my oldest daughter has to walk through my room to get to her room. And also actually the twins don't really have a room as of now. So they're in my room. That's where they sleep. They're 2.5. They are still basically they play in the living room and they sleep with me, which is awesome right now, but I know they're going to get older and they're going to want to bring friends, and then they're going to have an overnight stay where their friends have a sleepover, and then it's going to be a problem. Also, my oldest daughter, she's 12. I want her to have privacy, and I've talked about this before. I want them to hang out at our house, and her friends love me. They all say I'm the coolest mom out of all the moms that they know from other friends, which that's really cool because I do what they love. I'm a full-time YouTuber and I do all these really cool things. I'm a singer. I sing on stage with bands and with orchestras. They think it's really cool. So I love that they want to stay at our house and hang out here. But she's now getting in, she's at an age now, 12, turning 13 next year, where she wants to be more independent, which is awesome. I want her to be that, but I don't want her to just hang out wherever. I want them to hang out at our place. I want our place to be the coolest. And it actually is right now. They feel very safe and very heard here because I do talk to the girls quite a lot about all kinds of things. I answer so many of their questions. They always talk to me and they have questions about the world and life and everything in general. And I talk to them about these things because I feel like some of their parents don't really do it. How do I word that? They're from families who are maybe a little less educated, which it's not a negative, but I can just tell that these kids crave someone to truly listen to them and to show them that what they are feeling and going through and experiencing is important to them. I'm not saying that it's not important to their parents, but they just seem to not have the bandwidth or the interest to actually talk a lot to their kids about values and even things maybe they don't know. I don't know, like, they ask me about like, why is this happening in the world? Or why is the moon now full and now half moon? Maybe they just don't know yet, because I'm like, you don't know that? Like my daughter, she knows a lot of just stuff that you just know because it goes on in the world, because at some point it's something we talk about. And these kids, like it's like they crave these kind of conversations. And I love that our house is the place where they actually love hanging out, but it's starting to shift because the twins are little and they are, for her, they always get in the way a little bit. It sounds bad, but they're like, she can't just hang out with her friends unbothered, because then her sister, her brother and sister, they always like, and then sometimes her friends actually, they want to come visit because they just want to play with the little kids because they are so cute, which I love, but I want them to have a nice place to hang out. So for the past few years, I have been looking always. I've been on the lookout. I've been looking, like, whenever there's a house up for sale in our town, I looked at, always on the internet, I looked what was for sale. And I also looked for pieces of land for sale. I went to the model home park, the model home place where all the model homes are. Last year, I think I went a couple times even. I think this year and last year I went there because I strongly believe that to manifest, to make it, you have to make it real. You have to really see it. And when I had that desire to have a van, like I wanted a van for the family, or I didn't even have kids. No, I did have my oldest daughter. I didn't have the little ones yet, but I had so wished for a van, and I just did a test drive, and that test drive made it real. And that's when I decided, yeah, I really do want it. And then it worked out. I got this crazy great deal, and I hadn't probably done it if I hadn't sat in the car and thought like, whoa, this is an amazing car. I really want to have it. And it's the same with the house. I went to the model homes and I'm feeling like, this is real. This is real. I want to live in something like this. So last year I made really good revenue. So that year would be a great basis for, going to the bank and seeing like how much loan could you get for a new house. And I mean, I would also buy a house that already is built. But of course, here in Germany, the way it is, basically only old houses are up for sale. Because in Germany, pretty much you buy a house once. Most people buy a house once in life. And that's where you will live. And that's where your children will live, and your grandchildren maybe even. So I've been wishing this, and there has been nothing really available. And now, just after deciding to go to Texas, in the past month, all these things open up. So my neighbors that own the other half of our house, we live in kind of a duplex. They separated, and I talked to them. They are going to sell it, but they're not selling it yet. They're going to wait a couple of years because one of their daughters kind of still lives in it. So I don't even know, the couple, the family that lived there before, like he and she, the mom and dad, they don't actually live there anymore. The daughters are grown up, but one of them still goes to college or whatever. So she still lives there, and her dad is there not all the time because he has a new girlfriend, and the mom also has a new boyfriend, I think. And so they're always out there, but they do come sometimes. And then last year, my other neighbors who have an amazing house, like I'm looking at it right now when I'm sitting here in front of the window, It's such an amazing house. It's also like 100 years old, like our house is, but it's much bigger than our house, and it has even a bigger yard. We have a nice yard, but it has like such amazing yard. So they separated last year, and recently I saw him walk. I mean, they all don't even live there anymore. Again, same situation. One of the kids still stays there, and he walked around the house with someone who was taking pictures of the house. So I was like, hey, Stefan, are you selling the house now? And he's like, yeah. And I said, well, before you actually put it up officially, come talk to me. And I'm thinking, now I've decided actually to go to the States. And now all those things that I have been wishing for, they're starting to open up at the same time that the house, I find out that they're now selling it. A piece of land becomes available in my town. And I've been looking for pieces of land forever, like for 2 or 3 years. Nothing's available. And if there is something available, it's like in the middle of town, like very close to other houses, and it's just crammed in there and it's small. And there's this wonderful piece of land in my favorite area that is really close to the forest, like right at the edge. There's a house left and right, but there's no house behind it. It's right where I could go for a walk with a dog. And another house came up for sale. This all happened just in the last few weeks. Another house was put up for sale, also right at the edge, and an amazing area out at the edges of town. It's like the last house. And then there's fields. So I looked at it. I called the agent and I took a look at it, and it's like basically it would need to it's also an old house from the 60s. It would have to be completely remodeled, like everything, roof, windows, new heating system, new electric, new pipes, everything. So you'd have to invest a lot of money. But of course, this is just what it is here in Germany. So all this is now happening, and I do have to tell you that story because it's all very relevant. So basically, I make the money that I make, and I have a business, and I'm self-employed, of course, and I have 3 children. I get no child support, and yes, for 3 children. And his dad passed away. Basically, the kid's grandfather, who they never knew, passed away this past year. And they didn't know him because he was never involved. That side of the family, the kid's grandparents have been divorced for a long time, and there was no contact at all. He wasn't interested. He lived at a camping ground. Yes, he didn't really have a real place to stay. That's their grandpa. And I didn't really know the man. He was never interested in getting to know anyone. And he passed away last year. He didn't have anything, but what he did have was a really expensive car. He bought a Porsche in the 70s, 1976, which only had a few thousand miles on it. So first owner, hardly ever used, basically like new. And before he passed, he said to the kid's dad, he wants the kids to have the Porsche. Not as like to drive in, but this is an investment and it has a value. So he doesn't pay child support. So their dad doesn't pay child support because because of a few euros or dollars, whatever it is, I don't want a hatred going on the rest of our lives. I make money and he doesn't, but he also doesn't take care of anything. But his dad passed along this Porsche. So I said to their dad, there's this opportunity right now. Maybe we are not going to the States. Maybe this is a sign for us to stay here. And of course, he would like us to stay here so he can see his kids sometimes, which he's not very involved, but he wants to know that he has the option, I guess. So basically, I'm serving him on a silver platter the opportunity to help us stay here. And I said, let's just sell the Porsche. Technically, I'm the guardian of the kids. So technically, if it belongs to them, I decide what happens. And then he's like, oh no, the market is really bad right now for like classic cars. And I said, okay, if it is, but even where there's someone interested in something very rare, I don't know how much the market really matters, because there are not a lot of those that exist. Basically, he says there's nothing he can do. And I'm also not allowed to get child support, which the state would pay. If he doesn't make money, the state would jump in and pay for it. But then he would have to answer to the state. He would have to prove that why does he not have money? Is he doing everything he can to make money to pay for his children? Which he would never do. And he's afraid that they're going to take his house. So basically he's telling me, no, you cannot do this and apply for this child support that the state pays it for me, because then I owe the state. But also we can't sell the Porsche or any of the other classic cars he owns. One is worth, I think, 80 grand and the other one is worth like 50 grand and the Porsche is worth maybe about 100 grand. So that 100 grand toward the house would benefit the kids so much more than in Romeo's 12. So it's only going to be 6 more years until she's 18. What are they going to do? Like, she wants her part of it. What are we going to do then? Are we just going to cut off some of the wheels, or I don't know. But anyway, basically he says he's not helping at all. $0, nothing. Okay. So this is now going to just, whatever's going to happen, whichever door is opening, I always believe in pursuing all the possibilities, and then you will see what will open up. I will find out which doors will open and which doors will stay closed. So I just wrote him a message today because I'm talking to my bank and we have to put in an offer for the house. So if I'm going to talk to the bank and that's how, they say, this is how much money you can, like, this is how much loan you can get, I'm going to put in that offer. And if we do not get the house, I told him, if we do not get the house because our offer is not high enough, this is my sign. We are going to Texas. He hates us going to Texas because he's like, oh, then I have nothing to do with my children anymore. But he's had the opportunity. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Like, what do you think? This for me is like, it's God blatantly holding up a sign. Hello, would you like your children to be close to you? Here's the opportunity. You have nothing to lose. Just sell that car. Even try it, put it up and see if anyone's going to put in an offer. He's like, no, the market is bad. For me, that is a sign that there's not real interest, right? So that's what I mean by just pursuing everything. And the universe has a way, or God has a way to he shows us, this is something I could do. If you're going to go for it, that's what I'm going to do. So these are all the options. Like now I basically have all the options available. And if you're not going to take advantage of the doors that might open, then you didn't want it, right? So I actually wanted to talk about something completely different, but I landed on this topic of, just really how these things that you wish for come to life, and how sometimes it's some detours. It's not always this, I'm deciding and this is what's happening. Sometimes on the way, after making a decision about something, on the way to that final outcome, you learn more things and more things happen and things present themselves. And it's up to you, your reticular activating system, to recognize, this is the opportunity that could lead to this thing that I'm really wishing for. So I'm really good at vividly imagining something. And I think that is, I could vividly imagine living in that house that's up for sale and remodeling it completely and living right there at the edge of town, close to the fields, and going for walks there every day with the dog. And when the kids are, they could play back there, no cars, no traffic. Awesome. But I can also vividly imagine living in Texas and renting a house at first, and then maybe buying something that's a little more out in the country and doing homeschooling with my kids, because my oldest daughter, she would absolutely, desperately love to do homeschooling, at least for a while. So all these things could happen. And the thing is that there's no right or wrong decision. I don't believe that, oh, this is the right thing to do and this is the wrong thing to do. There are many options available. It's all a matter of what is it that you want to do. So there are many possibilities and options that present, and it's only up to me. Which one am I going to take? I know sometimes the decision is hard, but again, it's not a hard decision because it's like none of it are the right or wrong decisions. If I go to Texas, it's all fine. Challenge is there. And awesome things. And also, if I buy that house and remodel it, challenges, but also awesome. If I remain in this house, challenging, but also awesome. It's all the same. It's really, nothing is like easy peasy, always just cheesy, right? I just made that up. And nothing is just breeze forever, just breezing through. There are always challenges in life. And it doesn't matter which ones. It's just like, what do you want? What do you actually want? And you know what? We can change our minds. I sometimes change my mind. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you come back for our next episode for more updates and talking about how all this stuff works with like manifesting and the wishes and making things come true that you wish for. Be blessed. Talk next time.